Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly session in New York. The Prime Minister has expressed deep concern at the humanitarian situation in Gaza while reaffirming India's continued support to the people of Palestine. Taking to social media, Prime Minister Modi maintained India's support for early restoration of peace and stability in the region. The leaders also exchanged views to further strengthen long-standing friendship with the people of Palestine. This meeting comes within a week of India abstaining from a widely supported UNGA resolution calling for an end to Israel's occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. Within a year, to put that into perspective, as many as 124 nations out of 193 members voted for it, with India being amongst the 43 that abstained. Well, the question then that arises is, what is the significance of this meeting in the US? Joining us live is Suresh Kumar Goel, former diplomat. We also have Adit Kothari, founder Indic Society, live with us. Sumit Peer, political commentator, joins us live. Asif Ramiz Dodi, international affairs expert, is also with us. Let me bring you in here first. Ambassador Goel, what do you make of this meeting? What is to be read into it?
Uday, please do permit me. I think I have been a diplomat for a long time, but a time has now come when I can speak my mind and can be quite frank on this issue, really. To answer your question, nothing. Zero. With the exception of one or two caveats, really. And that is, these kind of meetings on the margins of the UNGA or the United Nations, such as even the PM is not speaking the UNGA this time, are traditional meetings, but they do take place. But the meeting with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, I think, has one significance. Minor, major is entirely a matter of perception, and that is that for very long, India has been seen or being seen by the countries in globally all over, particularly in the Middle East, as kind of changing gentle shift in its policies on the Middle Eastern issues and coming closer to Israel. For example, there was no outright condemnation of the Israeli military action in Gaza. Not this time, not earlier. There are reports of the bullet ammunition going through Europe to Israel. Correct or incorrect, I do not know. But there are reports, and we have dismissed those reports, really. But the fact is that so far, till now, unlike in the previous times, there is no outright condemnation of what is happening in the Middle East. Therefore, the statement by the Prime Minister at the meeting to take into account the humanitarian situation, expressing concern and calling for ceasefire, peace through negotiations, diplomatic talks, etc., is a very these are mantras which we all reiterate from time to time. Two-state solution, PM has once again reiterated, but two-state solution is what everybody has been asking about. Not even Israel has said no to the two-state solution, even though they are very lukewarm about this thing, and clearly their objective is to really finish this thing off. Therefore, I would say the meeting was in response to the criticism of India that there is a gentle shift in our position to basically tell our partners in the Middle East that no, we still remain with the people of Palestine. To what extent is a different thing. My only one issue is that Prime Minister Modi has shown a lot of courage in changing the foreign policy positions over the previous eras. He called it the era of war or non-war. I would call it the era of Congress, era of BJP, other era, this era. Prime Minister Modi has shown a lot of courage. I think knowing what the position of the countries in Gulf is now on the Palestinian issues, maybe it is time for us to review what our position is and take a more determined and more forthright kind of a stand on the issue than earlier. I have spoken a lot already. Sorry for taking so much of time.
No issues. You were, of course, giving a very valid analysis, of course, of the geopolitics that has transpired in this particular relation. But, what's your take, Adit Kothari, on this meeting? It, of course, comes after an abstention by India, interestingly, on that Gaza vote. But what do you make of this particular meeting and its ramifications?
So, just taking out, just extending Ambassador Goel's argument on this. I mean, of course, India's foreign policy has matured considerably over the years. And the duo, the Modi-Jaishankar duo is, sort of exemplifying this on an international stage and, bolstering India's image, thereby, also giving a lot of benefits to the Indian diaspora living abroad, people like myself included. What I think Ambassador Goel was basically trying to say is that India, with this meeting with President Abbas, is basically trying to monkey balance the situation from a global perspective, which basically was viewing India moving closer to Israel and sort of diminishing its stance on the Palestinian cause. So to say, I have a bit of a disagreement there, because if you look at it, India is definitely moving closer to Israel. There is no two ways about it. But India at the same time recognizes the plight of the Palestinian people. It recognizes the sufferings that they have endured without explicitly talking about it, talking about it in terms of the barrage of rockets or the firings or the kind of upheaval that we've seen in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. They haven't explicitly come out to condemn it, but they recognize it through various means and shapes. One of them being the kind of aid that India sends out to Palestine. That in itself testifies that India is strongly in sort of alliance to the Palestinian cause. New Delhi is definitely walking on a tightrope when it comes to balancing that act, because we also have the interest of our India Middle East corridor that we need to pacify. So we shouldn't let that go. Ultimately, that is a counter narrative to China's growing sort of expansionist agenda in the Middle East as well. So India is trying to balance all of those things together. Meeting Mahmoud Abbas, I think Prime Minister Modi also, through his tweet, demonstrated that he is not willing to antagonize his Israeli friends as well. Because he talks about the peace aspect, he talks about the humanitarian loss aspect, but he doesn't talk about the two-state solution in his tweet. I mean, that of course is India's foreign policy. It's been the foreign policy stance for a multiple number of years. But he's just not reiterating that, just to ensure that he doesn't sort of antagonize his new best friends. So all in all, I think this is a diplomatic monkey balancing act, which I think India is doing very well. Also, I think it puts India into the foray of being one of those countries that can play a very good hand at sort of bringing some sort of peace and tranquility to the region, where they can actually implore both parties to come onto the table and sit down and talk to the differences. One of the things that Prime Minister Modi spoke about is returning back of the hostages, which many national leaders or international leaders don't actually talk about, to be fair. Udayji.
Okay, let me take that across to Sumit Peer as well. Sumit, what is your interpretation of this meeting that has, of course, taken place in the United States of America on the sidelines of the Prime Minister's trip there for the UN summit and also the Quad? What do you make of what was possibly discussed inside and the way we've handled this relationship?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show. Well, there are two sides to it. The first aspect is, if we talk about the Quad, I mean, the first important thing was a very subtle message to China is that Quad is here to stay. A lot of people thought after Joe Biden is gone, Quad is gone, it is down the drain, and out of the four leaders, two are retiring. In a way, they are no longer in politics. One is the Japanese Prime Minister, one is Joe Biden. They thought it's a very person-driven thing. These people are out, it is gone. Remember what did the Chinese diplomats talk about Quad? They talked, it is a kind of a, in Hindi mein kehte na, junjuna. It will die with time. It's just like a weather storm. It will just calm down. There's nothing called Quad. Now the message that Quad is here to stay, and the next Quad meeting is going to happen in India. Couple of things I want to reiterate on Quad. First thing is that this operability of the radios, RAN network, then Coast Guards working together, then the ports being in sync, Then joint exercises, you're talking of maritime technology, you're talking of scholarships, you're talking of 40 million vaccine doses which India has committed, you're talking of fighting cervical cancer, you're talking of technology transfers, you're talking of fellowships, you're talking of student transfers, you're talking of a 360-degree cooperation. And without naming China, you know who is on the picture. There's only one country which is on the picture when you look at it. So though you may say that Quad doesn't have a military charter, yes, today it doesn't have a military charter, but we don't know. After 6 months, it might have one. Is there written anywhere Quad will never ever have a military charter? There's nothing like that which is written. So it was that Quad is to stay, and Quad's cooperation is going and increasing by leaps and bounds. And Quad, with every new meeting, it is going to a different level. So now when India is getting the leadership, now the next Quad summit will be held in New Delhi or somewhere in India, I don't know where. So Prime Minister Modi being in the control, the new leader of Quad is Prime Minister Modi, Joe Biden is gone, Japanese Prime Minister is gone, still Quad is pretty much there. Then the bilateral with Joe Biden, then we had with Japanese Prime Minister, then we had with the Australian Prime Minister. So all the three bilaterals happened. Then we had a bilateral with Nepalese, we had a bilateral with Kuwait's Crown Prince for the first time. Then we had a bilateral with Mr. Mahmoud Abbas. Now, what is Mahmoud Abbas's bilateral about? Look, India has gone close to Israel. There is no doubt about it. Prime Minister Modi was the first international leader who condemned at 2:30 India time the attack which happened on 7th October on Israel, and he in a way said, we are with Israel. It was a very clear-cut stand. It was not here, there, idhar udhar nahi tha. Now, with having being a close our relations with Israel, with our military tie-ups and a lot of military dependence with them, we love Israelis. They are like our brothers. But at the same time, when it comes to the humanitarian aspect of what is happening in Gaza, we are with the people of Palestine. Because look, Israel is not fighting Palestine. Israel is fighting Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Israel is fighting Hezbollah, which is again a terrorist organization. So it should not be seen Israel versus Muslims or Israel versus Palestine. No, it is Israel versus Hamas, Israel versus Hezbollah, which are non-terrorist organizations. So as far as the people of Gaza are concerned, we are with you. People of West Bengal are concerned, we are with you. We are not sending any arms to Israel. We are not sending any forces to Israel yet. We are sending all the humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, to the people of the West Bank, and wherever they need our help and support and cooperation, we are always there. We are advocating for two-state theory as a solution, but I don't know how much will it work on the ground, though there was also one two-state theory between India and Pakistan. Is it really working on the ground? Not really, but that's not the discussion today. So even with the two-state theory, we are with you, we are for your cause, but at the same time, recently there was what you call adivation, for a lack of a better word in English, in UN, where they wanted Israel to vacate all the occupied territories in 12 months, which India abstained. So we are not going against Israel. We are not trying to be a block to Israel. We are supporting Israel in its fight against Hamas and Hezbollah and all the terrorist sangatans like Islamic Jihad and all. But we are not against the people of Gaza. We are not against the people of West Bank. That is the difference. What is the Modi magic about? And Modi ji is the only prime minister who can go to Israel and who can go to Ramallah at the same time in the same trip. Lot of world leaders, Uday, don't have this privilege. Even Chinese president and all doesn't have this privilege. We have that privilege still. Mr. Mahmoud Abbas met us. We are not against people. No. Our limitations or our reservations or our support is against Hamas and against Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad. Not against people. It's not with Jews. It's not against Muslims. These all connotations are figments of mind which some people are trying to build up, and they're trying to create a dissonance with the Prime Minister Modi's diplomacy. But the Prime Minister Modi's diplomacy is very clear. I have my friends here, and my friends are fighting their enemies. I am with you, but I am not against the people. So even in Russia, Ukraine, remember when Prime Minister Modi was there, how many world leaders can sit next to Putin and tell him, look, what you did yesterday, there was a bomb on the children's hospital, it is very bad, it should have not happened. How many people in the world can say it on the face of Vladimir Putin? I don't think, not even two. So Modi ji did that. So it is a very formidable diplomacy where we are protecting our interests because we have military dependence on Israel. There's a lot of dependence, and we are part of I2U2 where Israel is a part of it. So we have a dependence on them. They are our friends. We love them. They need our people. We are sending them. But at the same time, we are with the people of West Bank. We are with the people of Palestine. We are with their sufferings. Whenever there's a humanitarian crisis, we are number one. Even if there was a humanitarian crisis in Turkey, The biggest contingent which landed was of Israelis, and the second biggest contingent which landed was of Indians. And if Pakistan would have given us the airspace, would have been the first one to do there. When it comes to humanity, human things, human sufferings, we're always number one. We're always there. But when it comes to diplomacy, when it comes to financial equations, ties, security, terrorism, Islamic jihad, and all, we take our sides. That is what we should do in the national interest. So Prime Minister Modi's policy has been like a hot knife in the butter, which cuts us like this and divides the two sides. Now it's a very sane diplomacy. Of course, these all meetings are seen. They are seen by Israel, they are seen by the West, they are seen by right, left, and center by China. And incidentally, Prime Minister Modi will not be meeting Benjamin Netanyahu. Now you will ask me question why? Because when the Prime Minister Modi leaves US, then a day after that, Benjamin Netanyahu arrives in US. That is why they are not meeting. So I wanted to make this clear so that there are no confusions. By Mahmoud-Abbas se to mile, Benjamin Netanyahu se kyun nahi mile. So it's the timing, it's the time zone.
Okay.
Opposite.
Okay, let me take that to Asif Ramiz Dodi as well. Asif Ramiz Dodi. Now the fact, of course, very clearly. Okay, I think we've lost his connection. Asif Dodi, are you there with us? Is he there with us, Asif Dodi? Okay, I think we've lost him. Okay, let me go back across to you, Ambassador Goel. Ambassador Goel, now moving forward, do you believe that this strategy of our diplomacy and foreign policy is going to continue vis-a-vis the conflict in Gaza? It's unlikely to change in the days ahead?
Yes. What is there to change? If it's merely a reiteration of a principled position that we have been saying before and before, without any substantive change in the landscape, there's nothing to change really. Let me correct myself first. When I said in the beginning that the meeting was basically the outcome it meant zero. No, it meant something. What it did mean was, and I completely agree with Adit on this thing, that it was a symbolic gesture to convey to the world and to our partners in Middle East that we stand in principle with people in Palestine. Coming to the issue of Palestine, really, yes, immediately after it happened on the 7th of October, we condemned Hamas. We also, Prime Minister Modi, I'm sorry, not we. I don't think India has changed the position officially by calling Hamas a terrorist organization. But Prime Minister Modi, in his tweet, called Hamas a terrorist organization. Not the Indian policy, but the policy is made by the Prime Minister as far as I know. So he called Hamas the terrorist organization. Now, if he calls that we still support Palestine, where is Palestine? I mean, if you talk about Gaza, Israeli forces are out to decimate Gaza. If you talk about the West Bank, Ramallah as the capital, Palestinians are being arrested day in and day out as a kind of a counter to Israeli. And fair enough, if you are at war with somebody, you will take all possible action. Clearly, and the government of Israel continues to encourage settlers to create what they call the illegal settlements, but they are obviously officially sanctioned. So clearly, Israel is out to completely demolish Palestine, and we are going along with it. And that's the reason I said, and I reiterate it really, Palestine is now a figment of imagination. UNRWA is working there, but with great difficulties. UNICEF is working there with great difficulty. The people are under attack all the time. So where is Palestine? I would like to ask. I mean, if we continue to harp on Palestine, fine, we do it. But it doesn't exist anymore in reality. It has been under attack, it has been slowly extinguished. And therefore, I would once again, through your channel, Uday, suggest to our foreign policy makers, let us be bold enough now. And if we have to basically come out and say that this is what we want, and this is what we are with, we continue to support what Israel is doing. Even though the UN condemns those actions as non-humanitarian and illegal against the international law, but we continue to keep quiet, we continue to support. So obviously, our thinking has changed. And I think we should really come out with a clear position now on where we are. Thank you then.
Sumit, do you want to quickly react to that point made by Ambassador Goel?
You see, Uday, I'll talk about some tactical data on the ground.
Yes.
Whenever there's civilian casualty, it's a calamity for Israel. It's a tragedy for Israel, but it's a strategy for Hamas and Hezbollah, where they have been hiding under the tents, under the schools, under the tunnels. We know there are more tunnels in Gaza than the area of Gaza. Palestine is not Gaza, Gaza is not Hamas. They are not interlinked. Palestine is a day of different, Gaza is different, and Hamas are different. The people who have been eliminated, like if you look at yesterday, commanders are of either Hezbollah or of Hamas. If you talk of Ismail Haniya, if you talk of Aqil, if you talk of Wahhabi, who are they? They are Hezbollah, Hamas commanders. They are not the people of Palestine. Yes, there is a bit of crisis, but let me tell you what the Israelis have done. I'm quoting Benjamin Netanyahu. 100,000 tons of food and relief given to them. 200,000 tents, water, sanitary, and 700,000 tons of relief material is given to the people who have left the Gaza and who are being settled temporarily during this war. I'm quoting Benjamin Netanyahu, these are not my numbers. So if that is the kind of given, it is given 600,000 doses of polio vaccine. The settlers have been taken care, the people who are injured are being taken care, but the people who choose not to leave Gaza and be a shield for Hamas and be their protectors, unfortunately war has those casualties. Yesterday there was an attack. 14 Hezbollah commanders were eliminated, including the head of Rwanda brigade. What is his name? Mahmoud Wahhabi. And Aqil is the same guy who did 83 bombings, who killed 340 Americans. Remember, there was an embassy in Beirut which was attacked, and the American US Marine Center in Beirut was attacked. 340 people were killed, and that Aqil was eliminated yesterday by Israel. And in that, there were some civilian casualties, which are unfortunate, which should have not happened, but that is the part of the collateral damage. So India is not supporting Israel in doing that. India and Israel don't have an alliance. We don't have a war pact with them. We are not sending our boots on the ground. We are not giving them weapons. We are not giving them intel. We are not giving them any support. Israel is doing whatever it deems fit in its national interest. We did Balakot if we had to do. We did Uri what we had to do. We beat the shit out of Pakistanis in Kargil. We did what we had to do. Israel gave us weapons. We are not even giving them weapons. But we will not go against the Israeli interests, wherein we said, you come and kill children. You come and rape women. You put a kid, ek bachche ko, you are raping the mother. You are cutting her breasts and you put the kid in the microwave oven. That is what these Hamas ke jihadis did. After so much of brutality, you've seen those rapes, you've seen this, women had those blood-soaked pajamas had more blood than bullet holes in them. You know how it happened. When all that kind of, barbarian acts were carried, now Israel has a right to defend, and we have regimes like Iran who say we'll decimate Iran. We will decimate, Israel. So what do you expect Israel to do? Israel will do whatever best it can to take care of the human aspect. We are also taking care of the human aspect, but we have nobody to tell Israel what to do, what not to do. Neither has America, neither is United Nations. United Nations, American, Russian, Chinese have their opinion. We have their opinion. There are a lot of people who accuse us of a lot of things in Kashmir and doing a lot of atrocities in Pakistan, but that is what India has to do. India has to protect itself. We can't have jihadis come and slaughter us in the broad daylight. We can't have Pakistanis come and slaughter us. Neither can Israel let these jihadis of Hamas come and rape their women, kill their children, and take hostages. That is not going to happen. Recent hostage crisis, Uday, 6 hostages were shot in point blank range, right, in the latest tunnel. Out of 100 or hostages, only 40 are believed to be alive, rest all are killed. You have seen mass graves of hostages under a United Nations UNG office. Wasn't there a Hamas tunnel which are tweeted?
No point. No, absolutely. Point taken. Let's give the last word to Adit Kothari. Adit Kothari, interestingly, two-state solution emphasized on by India in this meeting as well. That seems to be the way forward. But will that be agreeable to both sides?
I think it is palpable, because what Prime Minister Modi is also aiming at is the de-hyphenation diplomacy. He's not only de-hyphenating the politics of Palestine between Gaza, and let's not forget that even within the politics of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas has a lot of disagreements with the kind of politics, the kind of feral politics that Hamas usually plays. If you look at the history that they two share, is not something of bonhomie or of friendship. There is a massive amount of disagreement, including one elections where Hamas had basically, they had boycotted the entire elections because of the kind of Western politics and the Western interference. So there is that element of de-hyphenation diplomacy. So he's very carefully de-hyphenating the meeting of President Abbas with India's stance on Hamas and whatever is happening on Gaza. That's number one. And number two, he's also de-hyphenating between his meetings and his bonhomie with Netanyahu and Ramallah, for example. So I think that is palpable. I particularly don't agree with Ambassador Goel when he says that Palestine is a figment of imagination now, because you know uh, people are torn at this point. People have their hearts going out for the plight of the Palestinians, and they want some sort of a solution to be provided on that particular issue. At the same time, they do not want to see the Israelis suffer the wrath of terrorism. Something that we sort of have experienced ourselves. I mean, we carry terrorism just not from 1947 onwards, but right from 712 AD onwards. So that sort of has embedded our DNA to act in a certain way. So we are vehemently and vociferously against the kind of terrorism that Israelis are having to live with and face. So we are trying to live with that, and at the end of it all, we're saying that Israelis don't fall prey and don't fall hostage to the politics of Netanyahu. At the same time, the world over, international communities, diplomats, and policymakers do not fall prey to the politics of Hamas, because the moment we do that, we are essentially playing cover fire. We are providing cover fire to terrorism.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.